So we're gonna do a princess seam to the armhole dress with a flare bottom. You guys can do a trumpet, which means that it's fitted up to a point and then it flares out, usually to your knee, but we're not doing a gown. We're gonna use too much muslin when we make it, okay? Or we can make it A-line from the top, but you want it to from the widest part of the hip, we still want to have the flare on it. We will decide how much flare we want to do. You guys are flexible to change the numbers that I'm going to do. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to figure out how long I want this skirt to be. So I'm going to go to the dress form and I'm going to measure from the waist down. Okay? This one is just 20. I'm going to do 22. Okay? So if I want it to be 22, right? And I measure what I have done here, which it measures, let's do 7. 22 minus 7. I see somebody re-registering algebra again. 15. Next time, you guys need to be coming with sandals. That way you can count up to 20. Anyway, okay. So we're going to add 15 to the length, but first we're going to convert it into a princess seam. Let me take this one out so it'll be more clear. Is it clear? Can you see if it's showing everything?
Yeah, it's showing everything.
Okay. So first thing I'm going to do, remember that our dart was perfectly on the grain line. I'm going to extend the dart from the bottom and to the top. And I'm working on the front first because we have a bust dart. Okay? Then I'm going to, now I realize what I brought 2 L squares, but I brought no hips. Anybody can lend me your hip ruler? Yeah. Thank you. Otherwise I will have to go back there. Thank you. All right, so when you do your princess seam, you do not want to use your ruler like this, because look at how sharp curve is, okay? I mean, to be honest, this is gonna be just an embellishment seam, and you guys remember when you're doing your swatches, right? The inner and the outer curve, how complicated it was. Unless you want your design to be something on purpose that way, your ruler should be used this way. I'm going to found, probably if I were to divide this in thirds, I'm going to put it like here. Okay, and then this is again a design decision. Can you see it from that far away? Okay. Very talented. Anyway, so again, the round part will be the breast, right? And I'm going to soften it out going out. Okay, that's why I ask you guys to make a copy of this pattern. I want you guys to save your dress that you draped, okay? Because you have a really great pattern that you can use over and over again, right? But if you cut it like me, then you're not gonna have it again. I'm doing this because I don't want you guys to waste your time. So, please guys, whenever you do a princess seam, do not do a bust dart. That is like, the reason to do the princess seam is to eliminate the dart. So why are you doing it? It's just an ugly dart in the middle of nowhere where there is no reason for it. Okay? So I'm going to continue the center of the dart until it touches the princess seam. Okay? So you guys remember we did the punch hole here, but the actual dart was here. We're going to measure about 1/2 inch from the cut, the princess cut, okay? And that's what we're going to be working on. So before I start splitting this, okay? Because I'm gonna convert this into a center front and a side front, okay? What I need to do is, what would be my best guideline when I'm sewing this back again? What do I need? Notches. So wherever I have a punch hole, I'm gonna make a notch because they match. Yes? But we have a notch right here on the bust point. Yes? So usually you would do 2 inches above and 2 inches below. Right now I'm gonna do 2 inches below. I'm not gonna use the punch hole because that's the standard of what you need to have, okay? So here is 2 inches and here is 2 inches. Are we okay so far? All right. Now, does your body have corners? No. So what we need to do is, before we start cutting, we need to blend in this little corner. See that is softly blend in? And that's the beauty of a princess seam, because it actually gives you a much smoother and softer curve than that very pointy dart. Is there any problems of doing darts? No. Is it a better design solution? Could be, right? Because you can adjust them. Does princess seam always had to come right here? No. Okay, so let's go back to that, because I just forgot that I didn't explain everything about princess seams. So can anybody explain to me what is a princess seam? What is actually the reason for princess seams? By the way, this dress form is a princess seam garment. Okay? So princess seams are actually vertical panels that, as they go down, they will get wider at the breast, narrower at the waist, wider at the hips, and then so on each panel. So when they're sewn, it will create the cavity of the roundness of the breast. It would take fullness away. Remember, we talked about at the beginning that there are 4 methods to do pattern making, right? What are they? Darts, seams, gathers, and pleats, right? So we're actually doing seams, right? So as long as you go through the bust point, because we need to create a breast, and you guys are going to use this when you actually are going to do your own designs for your final project, for your bustier, right? Can we have these seams coming out a little and then come in? Yes. There is a threshold on how far away they can be around from this line on the waist. Can you make a line from here to the front? Yes. Probably you need something else to be able to give you a curve. But those lines inside your garment are much more or just as important as the actual silhouette. Okay? I should wear it for next time. I have actually a jacket that, instead of having the shoulder, and yes, I buy things just because they make me happy. Nobody else notices it. But you know how your shoulder seam is completely straight? Right? On that jacket, it actually is like a lightning bolt. You guys hated doing corners, and I'm sure that person is an absolute incredible making corners, right? But just that is what it makes me happy, and that's the reason why I bought it, right? So having cuts and seams is what's going to make your garment interesting. Having that basic dart, that doesn't make you an elevated designer. That makes you like, okay, I just learned how to sew, and you know, my teacher didn't push me into being creative, right? So can I do the princess seam going into the center front? Yes. Can I do it to the shoulder, to the neck, to the armhole, to the side? Yes. As long as you go through the bust point in order to create the cavity of a bust cup, right? So, now that I rounded all these corners, that way you don't have that pointy bust. Now I'm actually going to cut it. You're so quiet. It's like the funeral of the pattern. Okay? So this is not a garment anymore. If I need to walk this, okay, look at how my notches match. Cool? So this fits perfectly. Now, let's eliminate this dart. Okay? And this is where you guys, I hope you have that aha moment, that you understand how manipulating something doesn't change necessarily the fit. This fullness here, I'm going to move it into this seam here. Are we okay? Okay. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to cut on that line up to that 1/2 inch that I'd measured. And then I'm going to cut the other side almost to that 1/2 inch. I don't want to cut it through, but almost to that 1/2 inch. And now I'm going to overlap notch to notch as if the dart has been closed. See that? Everybody okay? Okay, let me cut this off so you guys can see that I'm matching lines. Now, am I matching the whole line? No, because I'm overlapping a tiny bit here. Okay, I'm matching dart line at the notch. That's all that I do care about. I do not want it at this point to be either overlapping or be cut through. I just want it to be perfectly flat right here. Okay? So let me show you what we did. See this little, it's a little bit more than 1/8 of an inch. That's going to give us ease for the bust cup. You don't want it to be more than this, but that we can ease it in. So look at this. If I put it back again where it was, look at this dart was manipulated into the armhole, right? But it's not a dart anymore. Now it's a seam. So when you sew this to this, it creates the cavity of the breast. Cool? Does that make sense? All right. Let's do the same thing to the back. And then we're going to convert it into a princess flare dress. Okay? Now, for the back, I also want my dart to end at the armhole. I'm sorry, my princess seam to end at the armhole. Because I mentioned to you guys that we're going to make a line in the center of the dart to extend it, right? But I don't want this to go to the shoulder. It's kind of ugly. It's kind of like generic, right? I kind of call it, I have weird ways of calling it, but it reminds me when those spinster ladies from the 50s that had pointy brows and the plastic necklaces. You guys got an image in your head. Okay. So I want to end it right here. Again, I'm going to place not like this, but I'm going to place it not going through this point, because then I'm going to have a pointy breast. Remember, the back you don't have breast, hopefully. Okay? We're actually going to start softer into the dart. So notice that my cut is going to come from the armhole. If you want it to be a little bit more rounded, you can do it more rounded. It's all up to you. Are we all okay? Right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to square off where the point is, because that's where it should not be separating itself. Yes, this is the punch hole. This is where I'm going to do a notch right there. Okay? Now, you guys remember, how do you differentiate fronts and backs? Two notches, right? Because if you were to look at, let's envision only this panel, it's fairly similar. We can tell by the neck that it's different, but it's shaped fairly similar, right? So I'm going to do two notches, 1/2 inch apart, always 1/2 inch apart. I'm going to do a notch right on the waist, notch right at the end of the dart. Yes? Okay. Now, see where it intersects here? The other side of the dart leg to our curved line. I'm going to measure how deep that is. It is 3/8, and I'm going to extend the 3/8 on this side. So now I'm going to connect from here to here to here, because that's where I'm actually shifting the dart into that curve. Does that make sense? Something like that. And now I'm going to blend it in. Yes? Now, I'm not going to transfer these notches here, because since I curve it, this line out here is longer than this one. So how would I fix that? Because I can't take away from the width of the shoulders. So what do I need to do to notice and fix that problem? I will need to walk it, and I will need to true the armhole. Does that make sense? Okay? So let's get the front away that we finished, and let's get the back. I want to make sure that those notches match, and I also want to true and walk that seam to make sure that it fits properly. The dart is gone, and now I have a princess seam. Yes? So we know that from here to here it measures identically. We also know that from here to here my dart fits identically, right? Because we haven't corrected. See how it moves? See how it gets narrower and it got wider? So from here I'm going to start walking it back again. And this matches, it continues to match. And here is where we have the issue. So I'm going to continue walking it and see that one side is a little bit longer than the other. You see it? Any close-ups you need? You guys can see it? No? Okay. We're looking at the tallest guy, because the other one hid away on the other corner. So I'm going to get my ruler, and I'm going to blend in the armhole from here to here. I do not want to take away from the widest part of the back. I actually want to add to this side And now it matches. And I have my notches. Everybody okay? All right. So I'm gonna do maybe 1 or 2 of the flares on the skirt because they're all repetitive. They're all the same way. Okay? This is, first you need to create your princess seams, and after that, then we're gonna flare it out at the bottom. So, one thing that I do know is what is the most important thing that I need to have on this pattern? Grain line. So before I do anything, I'm gonna do my grain line on all of these panels. And I'm gonna use abbreviations. Now it's not gonna be the front, now it's gonna be the center front. This is gonna be the side front. This is gonna be the side back. And this is gonna be the center back. You can put the 2 initials. That is very common on patterns, okay? Now, this is gonna be your work in progress pattern, which you need to submit it with your clean copy finished pattern with your seam allowances added that we're gonna use to cut it tomorrow, okay? So we should be finishing this pattern today, okay? So let me get some paper. And then while you guys are working, I'm going to make my clean copies so you guys can see how you need to submit.